A Task 1 writing response does not require a concluding paragraph. Remember, we only need to provide a concluding sentence. Hey guys, this is Chris. Welcome back to Hacking IELTS. This is episode 6. In this episode, we'll look at how to write a Task 1 response for a line graph. Of course, answers may be different depending on the type of graph or diagram, but we can see a structure that is used for diagrams in general. Okay, let's look at a line graph about coffee sales in Canada. If you're listening to the podcast, you can see the line graph for episode 6 on our YouTube channel. In the prompt box, you're going to see the following. The line graph below shows changes in the amount of coffee ordered by Canadians from 1985 to 2015. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. To review from episode 5, there are 3 basic requirements to organizing a writing task 1. First, we need to introduce the line graph. Second, we need to provide an overview. Remember overview from last time? Finally, we need to provide details about the graph. Let's start by discussing what the graph is about by paraphrasing. Do you recall paraphrasing from our last episode? Basically, we just want to give the same information but in our own writing style. You can do this by using synonyms and changing the word order. We also need to include the time frame as well. So, our paraphrased version of the line graph goes like this. The diagram compares coffee consumption by Canadians between 1985 and 2015. See what we did there? We just swapped out different words and then provided the time frame for the line graph. Easy. Okay, let's move on to our next order of business, and that is to provide an overview. Remember from our last episode how important it is to have this? No overview, and you're definitely going to drop a band. Let's start by identifying what the main trend is for this graph. Now, we don't want to give all the detail here. We just want to find something that describes what's happening. The main trend we are able to see in this graph is that one type of coffee fell in sales over the entire time frame, while the other one took off like a rocket. Here's how our overview is going to look and sound. The diagram compares coffee consumption by Canadians between 1985 and 2015, a period of 30 years. Altogether, the purchase of coffee from McDonald's dropped, while orders from Tim Hortons increased. Remember, our overview can occur at either the introduction or the conclusion, but not right in the middle. Let's move on to our final step, and that's providing our details. Now, we can get really specific in the body of our Task 1 writing. Be sure to refer to the data of the graph, but also be sure to not list off every single detail. It's super important to only compare how data is different or how it's the same. Do you recall in our last episode how we discussed patterns? We need to group information by its type. What do we see in this line graph that is the same and what's different? In our overview, we already mentioned how McDonald's coffee dropped in the graph and how Tim Hortons coffee purchases increased dramatically. In our first paragraph of the body, we are mainly focusing on McDonald's and their performance over the time period, but we will still need to compare data with Tim Hortons. Our second paragraph will discuss Tim Hortons to make our writing balanced. Let's look at the Task 1 response in its entirety, starting once again with our overview. Overview. The diagram compares coffee consumption of Canadians between 1985 and 2015, which is a period of 30 years. Altogether, the purchase of coffee from McDonald's dropped, while orders from Tim Hortons increased. Body, paragraph 1. The most popular coffee with Canadians in 1985 was McDonald's, being ordered 120 times a year. This was significantly higher than Tim Hortons, which was only consumed about 10 times a year. Apart from a 5-year increase from 1990 to 1995, coffee orders at McDonald's eventually plummeted to only 15 at the end of the 30-year time scale. Body, paragraph 2. In contrast, Canadians visited Tim Hortons at a much higher frequency over the time period. Coffee orders increased at Tim's dramatically until it passed consumption of McDonald's coffee in 1995. The graph indicates that Tim Hortons coffee sales rose dramatically throughout the 1990s and 2000s. Consequently, Tim Hortons coffee sales almost finished at the same level that McDonald's began, with no drop in consumption through this 30-year period. All right, there are a couple other things we need to keep in mind. First, a Task 1 writing response does not require a concluding paragraph. Remember, we only need to provide a concluding sentence in the last paragraph of the body. Second, ensure that you exceed the word count, but are definitely not under 150 words. If you're short, you can always add another sentence, as long as you have enough time. This wraps up episode 6. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our courses online at hackingielts.com. We also have our exam guide available on Amazon and Apple Books. Take care, guys, and catch you in the next one.